will be so intense that the oceans will boil. Our planet will be scorched beyond recognition. The crust will melt. The surface will become an ocean of molten rock. All life will end in the ultimate Armageddon. Our universe is alive with the shimmering of countless stars, but our vision from beneath the Earth's protective atmosphere shields us from the real dangers. Every single star will eventually die. Many will spew deadly radiation and particles across the galaxy. Kirshner is a Harvard professor with a passion for the stars. He spent a lifetime studying them, from their cradle to their grave.
I remember as a kid going out and seeing the stars at night, and I'd lie on the snow, I remember, with a flashlight and a star map, and try to dope out what things were where in the sky. And my mother used to call out the back door, and she'd say, "Bobby, come in, get off that snow."
Today, instead of lying in the snow, Kirshner comes to Kitt Peak Observatory.
Kitt Peak is at about 7,000 feet, so it's not a particularly high mountain, but it is considerably above the valley floor. So it's a good site for astronomy. Also, the weather is very good down here in Arizona, so we get a lot of clear nights.
He has a date with the night sky to look for one of the most dramatic and beautiful events in the universe, the birth of a new star. As the sun sets over the Arizona desert, the observatories open for work. This mountaintop gives astronomers an unrivaled view of the sky, high above the clouds and obscuring lower atmosphere. Kirshner is looking for giant clouds of gas inside our galaxy, the Milky Way, that may give birth to new stars.
Okay, we're ready. Let's go to the first one now.
All right.
There are catalogs of regions where stars have been forming or where there are big clouds of gas that people have compiled over the years. And so by looking at some of these things from the catalog, we can begin to investigate individual areas where there really are stars forming and where we can look deep into them to see what's going on.
With their high-power telescopes, Kirshner and his colleagues have been peering into enormous gas clouds inside our own galaxy. This is the Lagoon Nebula, an interstellar nursery which is giving birth to hundreds of new stars. The clouds are mostly made of hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. They are so dense, they begin spiraling inwards under their own gravity. The matter collects and begins to form a fledgling star, a protostar. With a disk of gas and dust falling inwards, it spins faster and faster. This was probably how our sun and the solar system was born.
After a while, the material that is in orbit around the protostar starts bumping into itself, and so it builds up bigger particles out of smaller ones. Eventually makes dust and makes gravel, and then very quickly, probably, builds up things as big as planets.
This is the moment of birth of a new star, with a new sun spawning a disk of orbiting planets.
The star shrinks down more and more until it becomes hot enough and dense enough for the nuclear reactions in the center to get going that turn it from being a glowing ball of gas into a real star, something that has a nuclear fire down in the center.
The same nuclear reactions that take place in a hydrogen bomb, converting hydrogen into helium, produces the energy that causes stars to shine. When the nuclear fires ignite, a new star is born. Since the birth of our solar system, the closest and most familiar star of all, our Sun, has bathed our planet in heat and light. At the heart of the Sun, 600 million tons of hydrogen are converted into helium every second in a nuclear reaction that fired up 4.5 billion years ago. For generations, the only way astronomers could study the Sun's fiery atmosphere was during a total solar eclipse. For a few fleeting minutes, the Sun drops its guard, allowing us a glimpse of its awesome power. Francisco Diego, a professional eclipse chaser, saw his first eclipse as a teenager in Mexico. It began a lifelong fascination with the Sun.
The total solar eclipse is an event that, when you see it, you will never forget. The day of the eclipse is very special. When you look at the Sun, you see this beautiful, complete, perfect disk. But the day of the eclipse, exactly at the time that has been predicted for many years in advance, you see how the moon starts eating into it.
At total eclipse, the moon will align itself perfectly between the Sun and the Earth. The moon is 400 times closer to the Earth than the Sun, and by extraordinary cosmological coincidence, it's also exactly 400 times smaller. Diego and his astronomical colleagues will travel anywhere on Earth to study this rare celestial event. Each eclipse will last just a few precious minutes.
The temperature starts dropping, and it drops up to about 10 or 15 degrees in some cases. It's very noticeable. You feel this wind, this atmosphere just agitating, and it is very tense moment. Then you look at the west, because the shadow of the moon is coming towards you. Very fast, at 3,000 kilometers per hour. The landscape loses its colors.
100-mile wide shadow will pass over the surface of the Earth. The brightness of the midday sun will slowly turn to night.
The sky gets so dark that the corona, which is very faint, is now visible. It really flourishes. It's like a flower, a white flower that opens its petals in the sky.
This is the sun's corona, a glowing atmosphere normally obscured by the intense glare. It burns at over 1,000,000 degrees. Giant prominences erupt from its surface. They could swallow the Earth dozens of times over. Like giant fingers, they stretch for millions of miles into the vacuum of space. But for solar astronomers like Diego, a total eclipse is over all too soon. After just a few minutes, the alignment is lost. The sun's brilliant light bursts out from behind the moon, a magical sight that eclipse watchers have named the Diamond Ring.
When you finish looking at the diamond ring and you see the shadow of the moon rushing away from you now towards the east, then you see that was it. Those 2 or 3 minutes are gone. You have been waiting for that for years, and suddenly it is gone. You feel like a vacuum, and you say, this is not enough, I want more.
As the sun breaks out from behind the moon, once again the Earth is bathed in its light. We rely on the sun's constant energy to breathe life into our planet. It gives us free energy. Its heat evaporates water to produce the clouds and rain. The slightest change in its behavior could put the world and even the human race at risk. To keep a constant vigil on the sun's enormous power from above the Earth's shimmering atmosphere, a new satellite, SOHO, was designed and built by NASA and the European Space Agency. Launched in 1995, SOHO was to promise a breakthrough in sun observations and give astronomers a front row view of our nearest star. Douglas Goff, a solar astronomer at Cambridge University, was one of the members of the SOHO team.
The satellite has gone to a position between the Earth and the Sun, where the gravitational pull of the two cancels. So it sits there looking at the Sun continuously and beaming back the information to Earth.
The images it beamed back were beyond their wildest dreams. The Sun's raging surface is a turbulent world, its eruptions ripped and torn by enormous magnetic fields. SOHO revealed that, like the Earth, the Sun has weather. Gigantic solar tornadoes twist through its atmosphere. And gigantic shockwaves rip across its surface. surface of the sun is heaving. Every 5 minutes the entire star breathes in and out. Our sun is pulsating. This is the real sound of it vibrating, speeded up thousands of times.
The outside of the sun is in this very dynamical, turbulent motion, just like the turbulence behind the back of a jet engine. The jet engine creates a lot of noise. Similarly, this motion creates a lot of noise inside the sun, which reverberates around and makes the sun sing. And by listening to those tones, we can learn about the structure of the sun inside.
Below its churning surface, there's a nuclear furnace that will burn for billions of years. From its nuclear heart, trillions and trillions of tiny particles of radiation, photons, make their arduous journey from the core to the surface. The photons collide with super-dense gas. They take so many hits that a trip that should take just a few seconds takes millions of years. But after the photons escape from the surface as light, they take only 8 1/3 minutes to travel from the sun to the Earth. Every summer, millions of people go out of their way to worship their local star. Even 93 million miles away, we can feel the sun's enormous destructive power. But not all of us are naturally protected against the sun's lethal rays. Fair-skinned people have weak defenses. The result is sunburn from the sun's deadly ultraviolet radiation. This anti-burn patrol is on the lookout for unprotected bathers. The greater the exposure to the sun, the greater the risk of getting skin cancer, especially deadly malignant melanomas. Greater dangers are whipped up when the sun's surface is twisted and contorted by powerful magnetic fields. These fields can puncture the surface and create dark areas called sunspots. Each one is big enough to swallow the entire Earth, and their presence is a warning. The magnetic disturbances cause enormous eruptions, blasting huge amounts of radiation and billions of tons of charged particles into space. Every 11 years, the sunspots increase in number and size. A mass of intense energy can head our way, engulfing the entire Earth. When this happens, it's not just the sunbathers who need to head for cover. March 1989. The sun was about to give eastern Canada an early wake-up call. It was the height of the sun's 11-year cycle, the solar maximum. Out in space, a cloud of incandescent matter over 1 million miles long was heading straight for Earth. Night workers at the National Grid Control Center had no idea what was in store. At 2:45 in the morning, engineers noticed an enormous surge in their power system. When the cloud hit the Earth, it induced a massive surge of electricity inside the power cables. Engineers struggled to reduce the load, but in a matter of minutes, they'd lost control of the whole system. Power plants over 500,000 square miles of Quebec were swamped with excess current. Moments later, the whole grid blew. The city was plummeted into darkness. Power was lost to 8 million homes. Further north, the same cloud that had plunged Quebec into darkness was lighting up the night sky in a massive celestial fireworks display. This is the Aurora Borealis. Some of the particles from the cloud had become trapped inside the Earth's magnetic field. As they passed through the atmosphere, they reacted with the air. Like a giant neon light, the solar radiation lit up the night sky. Our sun is not the only star that threatens our existence. Space is filled with harmful particles and radiation. Traveling above the Earth's protective atmosphere is extremely dangerous. Despite the dangers of traveling above the atmosphere, our desire to conquer space is so great that we are prepared to risk the consequences. In 1969, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong and Mike Collins began their historic 250,000-mile journey to the moon.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made.
Celebrations ran high as Aldrin and Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface for the first time. But behind the euphoria, the pair were keeping a secret from Mission Control in Houston. They'd seen more than just the dust of the moon's surface. It was only when they returned to Earth that Armstrong and Aldrin revealed their secret. They reported seeing strange white streaks of light flashing in their eyes. NASA decided to run tests on future missions to discover exactly what the light flashes might be. Astronaut Charlie Duke was their guinea pig. On board Apollo 16, he was asked to watch out for the mysterious flashes.
We're on our way to the moon, and all of a sudden I closed my eyes and I saw one. It was like the first one was like a flash bulb exploding inside your eye. It was very bright, very white, and I said, hey, I saw my first one. It was just this streak of light, very fast, and just as white as it could be, and very bright.
A young researcher, Larry Pinsky, was assigned to work with Duke and find out what was causing the flashes.
White streak in the right eye, upper center. Mark, light streak.
He recorded Duke's comments back in Houston and eventually realized the flashes could only be one thing.
Bottom to up, top. Mark, faint left, faint white dot in the left eye, extreme left.
Well, it turns out that they were seeing cosmic rays. They were seeing these elementary particles that permeate space, that penetrate the spacecraft and actually penetrate the body, and in this case, penetrate the eye.
We're feeling good. Billy, how about an extension, you guys?
What Pinsky had worked out was that Duke and the other astronauts were seeing high-energy particles produced from one of the universe's most violent acts of destruction. When a massive star trillions of miles away explodes as a supernova. incinerates all the fuel in its core. The heavier a star is, the more catastrophic its death. Becomes unstable. It loses energy and starts a headlong collapse that for 1 second gives off as much energy as all the stars in all the galaxies in the universe.
Cosmic rays are actually particles. They're actually little pieces of matter. They are the nuclei of atoms. The atoms come from supernovae, and they're just the bare nucleus accelerated to very, very high velocities.
I'm sure they were there all the time, but the only time you'd ever notice them is when you sort of got quiet, closed your eyes, and thought about it, and then you'd see them going off.
Mark, left, faint white dot in the left eye, extreme left.
There wasn't any pain associated with it. It's just sort of like a very spectacular fireworks display going off inside your eyeball.
When the astronauts returned to Earth, Pinsky took a closer look at Duke's space helmet. He found hundreds of microscopic tracks where the cosmic rays had tunneled right through.
They are tremendously penetrating and do considerable damage to the molecular structure of whatever they pass through. And this is the reason why they're a hazard to people when they pass through you.
The thought occurred to me, you know, if I was out here maybe a couple of years, these little things burning a hole through my head might cause me some problems in the future, but we didn't worry about it, of course, on a short mission like we were on.
But if a supernova is too close, it won't be only astronauts who will be at risk. It could kill everything down here on Earth. Understanding the mystery of just how massive stars die has taken astronomers centuries to unravel. Modern astronomers picked up their first clues from an unusual source during the Second World War in occupied Holland. Jan Duvendak, a scholar of ancient Chinese manuscripts, discovered a document written in China nearly 900 years earlier. It reported,
"On the 22nd day of the 7th moon of the first year of the period, Chiu said, prostrating myself, I have observed the appearance of a guest star in the 5th moon in the eastern heavens in Taurus. It was visible by day, like Venus. Pointy rays shot out from it on all sides."
The account told of a bright star that had appeared in the heavens in the summer of 1054, which shone for 22 months and then disappeared. Duvendak realized the significance of his discovery. Through contacts in the Dutch underground, he smuggled a paper through enemy lines and across the Atlantic to astronomers in the United States. Years earlier, American astronomers had discovered that a distant cloud of gas called the Crab Nebula at the fringes of our galaxy was expanding. By working backwards, they had calculated that it had originated from a single point some 900 years earlier, exactly the time of the Chinese star. Astronomers believed that the Crab Nebula was the debris from an exploding star, a supernova. But at the time, they had no proof. The Chinese star was so bright it could be seen in daylight, and for a time it was even possible to write by its light. What's more, the star had appeared in exactly the same part of the sky as the Crab Nebula. It clinched the argument. It had to be the remains of an exploding star. The blue glow of the Crab Nebula comes from escaping cosmic rays. The colored pincers are the remnants spewed out in the giant explosion. But for this star, the supernova explosion wasn't the end. Left behind was a strange corpse. Professor Anthony Hewish from Cambridge University discovered there was life beyond the grave for dead stars when he built an unusual telescope in the 1960s.
We started building in 1965. The thing was, we wanted a large radio telescope which was very sensitive, but it had to be rather cheap, and I decided on this construction of a big dipole array. We all took our turns in hammering the posts into the ground and hanging up the wires and putting into the cables. It was just very much a team effort.
Over the next 2 years, Hewish and a small team of students built a jumble of wires and poles spread over a 4-acre site. This strange-looking telescope was to discover the weirdest object in the universe and win Hewish the Nobel Prize. The task of running it was the responsibility of then research student Jocelyn Bell.
It was producing miles of chart paper, 96 feet of chart paper every day. And we kept scanning the sky over and over and over again. I ran it for 6 months and generated several miles of chart paper.
In August 1967, after just 1 month of operation, an unusual signal caught her eye.
As the pen ran over the chart paper, it went beep, 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 beep. Regular pulses, about 1 1/3 seconds apart.
It looks so artificial. It looks like an intelligent signal to begin with. And intelligent signals coming from outer space, what are they? Well, you make a joke and say perhaps somebody's talking to us in some kind of a code. So we call these things little green men, LGM. I mean, we didn't really believe it. On the other hand, it was a possibility you couldn't immediately ignore.
After months of analysis, Hewish and Bell came to an outstanding conclusion. Only a small, super-dense spinning object could be creating such a fast pulse. The only possibility was the collapsed core of a supernova, a neutron star. Here was the living corpse.
I really didn't know neutron stars existed until I started talking to people and said, look, can you tell me any sort of star that's smaller than 1,000 kilometers? And up came the answer, neutron stars, and maybe we're seeing the first one of them.
The pulses that come from one of these neutron stars come to us because, like a lighthouse, these stars are spinning. and they have a beam that's focused by the magnetic field of the star. And every time the beam sweeps across us, or across our radio telescope, we pick up a pulse.
But for 1 year, there were literally hundreds of theories being published, and it was an absolutely open question. And I think it only became generally accepted after about 12 months that it had to be a neutron star.
The revelation triggered a wave of activity. Radio telescopes all over the world scanned the heavens looking for the mysterious pulses. Less than a year later, the giant Arecibo dish in Puerto Rico picked up a signal. It was coming from the heart of the Crab Nebula. They had found the ticking corpse at the center of the Chinese supernova. The spinning neutron star was not only giving off radio waves, amazingly it was also visible. High-speed television pictures revealed it was flashing on and off 30 times a second. It was the most powerful object that anyone had ever photographed. Neutron stars are like nothing else in the universe. They are so dense, a thimbleful would weigh over 100 million tons.
Supposing you somehow manage to land on a neutron star, then you are experiencing phenomenal gravity. And the atmosphere, instead of being 5 miles thick, is about 5 millimeters thick. So if you stood on the neutron star, the atmosphere would be sloshing around between your toes.
But even a neutron star's phenomenal gravity is surpassed when a real super heavyweight star dies. When a star 100 times heavier than our sun switches off, it goes with a bang. While we see the outward explosion as a supernova, this masks the inward implosion. The core is collapsing into the most dangerous object in the universe. The density becomes so great in the center that gravity sucks in time and space itself from the outside universe. A darkness forms at the heart of the collapsing star. A black hole is born.
If you have a massive star, once the massive star has exhausted its nuclear fuel, which is keeping it hot and keeping it puffed up, gravity becomes so strong that it just overwhelms all pressure the material can provide, and the star goes imploding inward, and it's gone, forming a black hole.
Everyone has heard of black holes. No one has seen them, or been near one. At the center of a black hole is a point called the singularity. Everything that has ever fallen into a black hole is destroyed, crushed into a pinpoint of infinite density and infinite smallness. Even space and time are squelched out of existence.
The singularity is a place where gravity is essentially infinitely strong. It's a place where matter gets destroyed. It's a place where space and time as we know them get destroyed.
At some time in the future, a spaceship from Earth will be sent into the jaws of the most elusive object in the universe.